What's up, everybody? It's the Ike's Inspirations Podcast, and today I have a good friend and my personal barber who does fire cuts, and it's my guy Ghost. So before we start the podcast, I just want Ghost to introduce himself and just kind of give a brief synopsis of who are you, Ghost? Like, what are you about? What do you like to do? And maybe share like a little bit of your life story.
Okay, I bet. What's up, y'all? I'm Ghost. The way I got into barbering, I used to work at Chick-fil-A as a manager. I knew before then that I had a huge, really good, work ethic and just very determined and whatnot. And I cared about serving the people, And unfortunately, during this time, I also was homeless around this time period. It was mad cold, and this when I was 21, and I knew that I wanted to work for myself and be an artist in some type of way. I was a skateboarder at one time, so I already had the taste of having that freedom, but I didn't know how to do it and got paid. So I ventured with the barber school while I also was working at Chick-fil-A. I was going to the YMCA to bathe and all that stuff and all that. It was a wild time. And I just knew that if I just keep pressing forward and continue with developing myself as a person, just going through the struggle, I knew I would come out good on top, So I basically went through that. I became a barber, got licensed. I didn't take it seriously till later on. I was still working at Chick-fil-A. I eventually got an apartment, all that stuff. And I just take full accountability. So I'll tell anybody that wants to go for their dreams or whatnot, you can do it. You just got to really, sometimes you don't have to have the whole vision. You just got to just put one foot forward at a time and just doors will open up for you. I promise.
Yeah, man, I love it, man. Thanks for sharing your story. So on this podcast, man, I like to really focus a lot more on people's downs than ups. And for me, it's kind of more of a celebration of their success by focusing on how they overcame their struggle. So my first question to you, Ghost, and I'm very curious, is what's the most difficult thing you've ever been through?
I would say the most difficult thing I went through was shoot. I mean, that really kind of was it. Dude, it was super cold. One flaw I have is I do not like asking for help. And I definitely was very stubborn then, and I was hard-headed. I put myself in that position. I hold myself accountable for that. So it was just look, it's just time to man up. And I really want to change it. I want to go back and change it. But it builds character. You got to have some type of struggle. But I believe that was my toughest part in life.
Being homeless?
Being homeless when it's 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was working at a restaurant, so I could eat.
Yeah.
It was hard trying to cover that up and pretend everything is good while taking care of people, not snapping on people. No one to this day really knows how I got to where I am. Even people I cut now or people I've met in the past few years, they don't even know.
Yeah. So I got two questions for you because I'm very curious because I didn't even know you were homeless, bro. So how long were you homeless for, and how did you get out of that situation?
I was homeless from, can't remember that year, but I know it was late November, all the way through February. And just right after February, right after Valentine's Day, that's when I got my apartment.
Gotcha.
So it was just it was still cold, but it was transitioning to the spring or whatnot. So yeah, the whole winter.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Gotcha. So you transitioned from being homeless, then you found yourself working at Chick-fil-A, right? What was that like? Were you a manager at Chick-fil-A? Yeah. How did that go?
Yeah. So in October, I applied. I did it for Chick-fil-A. I did a job fair thing. We all got hired on. We all started at the same time. I became a manager. No, I'm sorry. It was March. Yeah, March, the same year where I became homeless. 6 months later, I became a manager. And by that time, that's when it started getting cold and all that stuff. And then I got a little money in my pocket. That was the ish, and my parents, they were, they just weren't being approve anything I was doing. No, I just thought that I could do whatever I wanted. And yeah, that led me to being homeless. And yeah, so it was from late November to February.
Wow. Yeah, so back then you're young and stubborn, and you probably thought you knew it all. So you're like, yeah, I can do this shit on my own, right? And I guess life had to humble you.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, it did.
And now you are, you and I, we met at Buckhead, in Atlanta, and you're working on currently improving your business and as a barber. And I really was just kind of curious because I know whenever you and I are at the barbershop, we have very intriguing conversations. And I would like for you to just share how you became a barber and what inspired you to start doing that.
So in Atlanta, that's the hood. I would go there every 2 weeks, get my hair cut. Happened to be the same shop Little Baby used to go to. I think I seen that once or twice. Who he really was. And the barber that he would go to, he allowed me to like watch him cut. So I had no idea I wanted to cut hair. Like I just kind of like it came from me wanting to get my hair cut there, to me just hanging around, to me like getting to know everybody. Like I'm 30 now, so this was the same. That's the same age range these guys were. So obviously I was a little younger. So I would watch this guy cut because he had the most clientele. So I gravitated to him. I'm like, okay, he gotta be doing something right. Like he's always busy. So it got to the point where I was like, hey bro, like let me record your videos for you because you gotta be on social media. And he was like, all right, bet. And in exchange for me like learning how to I can watch him cut hair.
Smart.
So I picked up a little bit from him. Yeah, so I picked up a little bit from him doing that, and eventually I kind of I just like, yo, like I think I got this. So I just eventually just got some clippers, and I went home, got my little brother. I told him, yo, sit down. Like I'm about to give you a fade. He was like, huh? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a fade. So I draped him up and all that, and did the fade. It took me like an hour and a half. Like it was crazy. But I took a video of it, or a couple videos of the cut, pictures. I posted on Instagram. I tagged all the barbers that were in the shop, and it was like, yo, like we didn't know you could cut. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I know I tried, but like y'all ain't gotta be too nice. Like it sucked. It sucked. Yeah. So it took me like 2 weeks for me to really like get. It was like, bro, like you really like you get them right. It was like, how long it took you? I was like, an hour and a half. It was like, all right, you just gotta cut your time down. But that's when I discovered I had like I guess that eye or that natural talent that could. I think anybody that's talented, you can always build up on something more on it. But I had enough to get by for some people that's been doing this thing for years. So fast forward. I ended up a year later, I ended up going to barber school. And no, not a year later. Yeah, I was still going. Okay, so when I was going to the shop, that was a year prior to me actually like going to Chick-fil-A and all that stuff. And I was just like cutting on my little brother, like here and there, And then when I actually got into Chick-fil-A and became a manager and all that, that's when everything flipped. And that's when I had to really like understand like, yo, like I got something. How about I go to school? So I went and enrolled myself in school. Actually, like the second day, like once I got homeless, that next morning, I took myself to barber school to get information and do the interview and everything. And I told the owner, like, look, this is my situation. Like, I'll clean up here. I'll stay late, like, whatever. And he was cool. So I did everything I needed to do for financial aid and whatnot. I got enrolled into the school. It was a journey for both of us because it was a change of ownership. The original guy that ran the school, he sold it. Mm-hmm. So that was another opportunity for me to be able to do like as a mentor or mentee type of thing. So it got to the point where I could work at Chick-fil-A, and when I go to school, stay there longer. And when all the students would leave, I would stay, and I would cut the people that happened to be in the neighborhood that wanted a haircut. And I was charging them regular price, and they would give me that plus more. So that ended up working. And then eventually I was able to like leave Chick-fil-A, and I went back to the shop that I used to frequent a lot. And unfortunately, I guess they saw me as competition, I guess. Not to toot my own horn, but someone had to kind of tell me, like, that's probably what it was because they just started acting different. So I didn't look at it that way, but it is what it is. I still got love for them. So it was just basically I ended up working in the shop in Clayton County area, like South Lake Mall. I just went through the journey of like going to different shops, trying to find my groove where I belonged at. And hey, like here we are now. So that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. And I mean, I love to hear the story of the growth and where you came from. I know you got a lot of goals, but it's cool to see how far you've come and how hard you work to get where you are. One thing about you that amazed me is you told me that you were a barber, and when you asked me how long you were a barber, I thought it was like for like several years. But you told me you only did it for 3 years, and I'm like, damn, this dude can really cut, man. I'm like, yeah, man. I could tell it's a natural talent, and I'm glad you're using that natural talent. Another thing that I've noticed about you that I think you and I both share is I think we're both very like introspective individuals, and you and I have a lot of pretty interesting conversations that I would like to kind of dive into, man. I guess one of the first things I wanted to ask you about is because, I know you grew up in the hood. I know you're a black man and you came from Atlanta. I think you and I are both introverted, and I wanted to have a conversation about that. What is it like to be an introverted black man?
Shoot, that's a good one, great one. So in the West, here in America and whatnot, especially the East Coast, in Western civilization of the world, I think we all can agree, extroverted or introverted, we can all agree that the society, it pushes extroversion as like the top of the hierarchy or the top of the food chain. Like everything is about being extroverted. And when you are introverted, it's like you're either self-centered or you think you're too good for people, or like we're just very, very misunderstood and overlooked. Yeah, if you look at people like Steve Jobs, your Warren Buffett, like the richest people in the world, like are introverted.
Yeah.
And I think we have to stop. Well, I know that what needs to stop is us just being judged versus like being asked questions. Like ask us what we're thinking about. Like ask us like how like I don't know, man. Like it's we're just very underrated. I'm okay with the underdog story because when we get things popping, then everybody wants to be your friend all of a sudden, and it's like, nah, like I'm good, and it's like it's still love, but it's like no, like just because I'm not loud and boisterous and all that, not attention seeking. Not saying extroverts are attention seeking all the time. However, it comes off to us like that. I guess some introverts would agree with that. But really, to narrow it down, introverts, we are the most powerful people on the planet. I believe we are very introspective and intuitive. We know ourselves more than others. I think we know others at times more than they know themselves. And people don't like to be figured out. And sometimes people will ask you things just to see if just to really just be nosy, man. And like introverts, what I love about being an introvert is like it's like a superpower. It really is. You can learn a lot by just keeping your mouth shut and just listening and reading the room. Yeah. And then by the time a person gets to you, or that group of people get to you, it's like the whole rundown. And I think introverts, we should empower each other, encourage each other. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You are perfectly, I don't even want to say perfectly imperfect. You are perfect. Just like how the extroverts believe they're perfect, we're just as damn perfect. Yeah. We don't have to flaunt it.
Yeah, man. I mean, the reason why I asked this question, bro, is because, I see myself in you in that regards. I'm very, very introverted. And it's something that I don't want to say I struggled with, but when I was younger, I used to kind of think there was something off-putting about me because when everybody was going out and wanted to go party and stuff, I just wanted to stay in. Or I'll be honest, there'll be times like in high school, like, when everybody's eating in the lunch cafeteria, I was perfectly fine eating by myself. Like I didn't care. I didn't feel like weird about it. But I've noticed like I wanted to eat by myself while everyone wanted to eat together. And I always kind of, I wasn't really ashamed by it, but I never really understood myself like I do now. And I think I read this book called Quiet. It's a book on introversion. Yeah. Oh, so you're him. Yeah, it's a great one. Yeah. That book essentially shifted my perspective on introversion, and it kind of allowed me to accept myself for who I am and not necessarily feel ashamed for being introverted, because it's kind of hard when in America and social media, the coolest people are the ones who are saying hi to everybody and just being engaging and stuff. It can almost make you feel like, I don't want to say like a loser, but it can make you feel kind of like, man, what am I doing wrong? Like, what do I need to do to fit in? And I think you and I both felt like that. But I like your perspective on it, because one of the things about people like us, because hence why I do this podcast, we kind of generally like to listen to people more than we actually want to talk. Like I'm like that. I'd rather just hear you talk and I'm just listening and ask questions, because I don't know. I think, like you said, you learn a lot more from actually listening than speaking. They always say God gave you 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth, and I agree. I think the world would be a lot better place if people just shut up and listen. You feel me?
Yeah. To add to it too, for the black man perspective, generally in our community, it's like, especially in the South, what I've noticed, at least with my experience, is that it's like we're supposed to be extroverted. Like it's like you're weird if you're introverted. Or like when I was like in certain situations or certain areas, I would be picked with like either directly or indirectly just because I was quiet or whatever. And then they were just like, why are you so quiet? And then I wish I had more balls then, or was more outspoken then, and just be like, why the hell are you so damn loud? Like, why are you talking so much? So now, like, since I'm older, like, since I meditate and whatnot, I don't have the need to respond. But it was a period of time where I was like really like, let's say, getting active with people, because it was just like, bro, like, come on, bro, like, don't disrespect me. Like, just because I want to talk about low level stuff doesn't mean you should treat me any different.
Yeah.
And I hate that in our Black community. And I thought I was actually going to be able to get away from it for a while. But then when I got into the barber industry, that's very egotistical, egocentric, extroverted field. However, I've met a lot of successful barbers that were way more successful than the ones that talked all the time. And they were ones that you would not hear a peep from them.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I've learned to be more comfortable or find my comfort zone and thrive in it. So I'm not, when my clippers are off, I'm not talking to nobody. It's not personal. It's just like, I don't want to talk. It's just, I don't want to say I don't want to talk. It's just that I don't feel like I have anything to put in. I don't feel like I have to.
Mm-hmm.
But when I have my clippers on and I have a customer in the chair, I have a customer in the chair, I go up their vibe. I'll agree to and whatnot. And then we can talk about deep stuff and whatever. But if it gets about talking about football and stuff, hey, I'm not your guy. Sorry. I'm not a traditional barber when it comes to that. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm not going to speak for all introverts, but most of the introverts, we're about keeping them 100. We're not going to sugarcoat nothing. We're going to be straight to the point. We're not going to lead you to believe something that's not true about us because we don't have the energy to lie. We just don't. Like, at least I don't.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, one, to keep it simple is one, you give a fire cut, and two, we have a great conversation. And, you know, I feel like if I could get both of those from my barber, like, honestly, like, that's all I'm happy with. You know what I'm saying? But nowadays, it's kind of hard to find someone who can do both of that. And I felt like when I met you and I, we struck it off because I feel like, unlike most people, like, you like to listen more than you like to talk. And I appreciate qualities of you in that. You know, I think it's a rare found quality in a lot of people. I don't think it's a common thing, you know, so I'm glad I met you in that regards. And I another thing that I wanted to, you know, speak to you about and kind of learn more about your opinion, because you did mention this, is the art of meditation. You know, I know you said that you meditate. I'm very interested in that because that's something that I also like to do for myself. What does that look like for you, and why do you feel the need to meditate?
I feel it's going to ruffle some feathers for some people. There are no such thing as problems. The only time there's a problem is when you're thinking in the past or you're thinking about the future, and neither even exists. You're not there. You're here. You're here right now. Like the next 10 minutes, we're not there yet. It doesn't exist. The past 10 minutes doesn't exist. We're just living in moments of now. That's it. Mm-hmm. And meditation helps me become more grounded into the present. Of course, you have thoughts going through your head and whatnot. Your job is not to control those thoughts. Your goal is to notice the thoughts, notice the sensation in your body, notice your breath, notice the outside sounds, cars passing by, birds chirping, whatever. And you're doing it for the purpose of realizing that you are the present moment. It's you that's receiving it, and it's also the moment itself. And you're gonna learn that that's really the best way I can explain the present moment, because some things in life, it can't be told or it can't be taught. It gotta be caught. So the more you meditate and whatnot, then you will get your own understanding of that. But for the most part, meditating allows you to get more and more into the present moment, and everything that you do, you're more conscious, you're more aware, you're more like even when I cut hair versus me just taking a clipper and just going like this, just moving, I'm not really being conscious. Like sometimes, even now still, I'll cut hair and I might have thoughts passing by, but the problem is I'm taking too much attention. It's like a train. Like you're standing at, say you're like taking a public transportation and you got the train going. The train is your thoughts. You're just right here perceiving, you're looking at the train going, and it's your responsibility to either stay off the train of thought or just sit back and look at the train pass by. In most cases, you're going to hop on that train for this thought. They hop on another train for the next thought and the next thought. Next thing you know, you're not even conscious and present about what's going on. But it's so normal and normalized because it seems like everybody's doing it, when really there's people out there like myself that meditate, and we're getting better and better of eliminating it. But for those that don't understand meditation, the goal is not to get rid of your thoughts. It's really kind of like just be in harmony with them and understand that they're not real. They just passing by. They're like clouds in the sky. And your job is to only notice them and let them pass by. Even without meditation, I still practice this during the day. When I'm quiet, I might be frowning up a little bit. I might not. But the main thing I'm doing all day, I mean, it's a practice all day, is stay as present as possible. If I have some thoughts coming by, if somebody shoots a bird at me or whatever, I feel it in my body. Like, okay, this person flipped me off. This person disrespected me. I should go do something. Da, 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 da. I hear all this chatter. I let it go. Unless someone puts their hands on me, I'm not worried about it. So it's helped me on a professional level and also a personal level. And I think it's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, man. I love that you said that, man. I'm a huge fan of meditation, and I'm not gonna lie, man. When I first learned about meditation, I was in college, and actually me and my roommate, we're goofy guys, but we went to a meditation class together, and we thought meditation was goofy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest. We were in a group of a class of a bunch of white girls. And the way they talked about meditation and they gave their testimony, it was very kind of corny, like, oh my gosh, this changed my life. Like, oh my gosh, like, and me and my boy are looking at each other and we're like, nigga, we just sat down and closed our eyes for 10 minutes. How the hell did this change our lives? And so I'm not gonna lie, I like 6-7 years ago was looking at meditation and I'm like, this is goofy. Like, what am I doing, bro? I'm just sitting here doing nothing. And it's kind of funny, past forward 5-6 years later, I'm looking at myself meditating and I'm doing it on a daily basis. And it's kind of, for me, I like to think back and be like, wow, I was really laughing at people who did this. And now I'm doing this every day, or at least I try to do it every day because I'm witnessing some of the benefits that are coming from it. What are those benefits that are coming for you for meditation? How does meditation benefit you on a day-to-day basis? I know you mentioned it helps you as a barber, you know what I'm saying? And I guess for me, I'm very curious to hear how meditation helps you become a lot less reactive, because I think a lot of people struggle with reacting and handling their emotions. You know what I'm saying? All it takes is that one emotional break for you to do something fucking outrageous or something that can just literally change your life for the worse. So I'm just curious to hear your perspective on meditation and how it kind of prevented you from some bad situations.
You're gonna have some characters every now and then. Luckily, I haven't been getting them very often. Like I had a very recent situation. So it was this gentleman. He came in the shop and he sat in my chair. Before he sat in the chair, he was kind of like sizing me up a little bit. Like I know, like I wear the black nails. I dress a certain way. Clefty Mac, get the face tattoos, whatever. He was like an older guy. He was like Gen X or whatever, 40s, 50s, whatever that generation is. So he sat down, and before he sat down, he was like, I need a professional. And I said, we all professional, sir. So I didn't take no type of I think a long time ago, I probably would have reacted differently to that. But for some reason, that moment, I was able to see it was him saying whatever he said. Then it was this filter, this threshold of the actual comment. And then it was me, you know what I'm saying? And then I think over time, I've just been able to minimalize that cut. And I'm not mad picky and fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? But the thought went past I just kept letting it ride, And then some part of me was just like, okay, bro, I know you're practicing me in the present moment, but right now, okay, this dude, he's being a dick. He's really just being nitpicky for no reason. He didn't already have much hair right here. He was already, he said someone messed him up already before somewhere. So the front hasn't grown in yet. So it's only so much I can do with the line. So this dude gets in my chair, go through all this mess. And when I get to the lineup, I know some people say barbers be drawing on people and stuff. Now, some barbers, they do it because there's actually a purpose involved. I'm speaking for just myself, but for anybody that's a barber watching this or anybody that's not a barber, you're not meant to be walking around with chalk on you. Unless it's super, super thin, that means the razor's been there and all that, and the line was already done before chalk is applied. Yeah. No one's supposed to be walking around looking like a crime scene investigation. No. So anyhow, I take the pencil, I already lined them up, and he told me, do not go in the corners. So I'm thinking, okay, preserve the corners and still try to give him a box. So I did that. And then he starts panicking and acting crazy. And I'm just like, bro, chill. And he's like, no, I don't want that. I'm like, bro, how else do you think I'm going to be able to show a line here? Because I use some spritz or holding spray for those that's not in the industry. Mm-hmm. And I was able to make a line, but it's not going to be as strong. Why? Because there's no hair. So I used it so that I could take the trimmer, buff it out, just like how a woman gets concealer, put it on her eyebrow and brush it out. So it has that illusion that it's sharper than it really is. And I used a razor so that I could make it even more sharper. And then this dude, This is how I knew that my meditation was working. This guy got to cussing at me. He got to doing this and that, and all the thoughts that were going through my head was like, dude, like whoop this dude's ass, dude. Like it's like just show him like he can't like mess with you, like because I knew I didn't because sometimes we let these stories and projections in our head dictate how we act, and sometimes it really do be that thing. But you try to like do your best, growing as a person. Like yo, look, like it ain't even that. Like I'm not going to just start making shit up. But sometimes it really is that situation. And this time it was. This dude was just fucking with me. He didn't want to pay. He just wanted a free haircut. That's all it was. And to me, I feel like if you didn't want me to cut your hair, you should have said it from the beginning. Don't try to run game on. So I lined him up and whatnot, and he says he didn't like it. Then he tries to ask another barber. The other barber, like, he's not getting in it. He's like, nah, he know what he's doing. He's a professional. And so the dude gets out the chair. Well, I tell him, like, yo, you gotta get out my chair, bro. Like, that's just really what I had to do, because he just kept finding every little thing. And then he goes back and tells me, hey, go in this corner a little bit. I'm like, but you told me from the beginning, don't go in the corner. So I think he was testing my patience, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I meditated the day before or that day. And I take accountability. I probably should have, but also I think I would have been too passive in this situation. So I got him out my chair. He pays me, and he gives me $100 bill. I give him his change back, and he was basically trying to say that I charged him $10 more than he was supposed to be charged. And I said, yes, sir, like we didn't discuss a price in the beginning. And also, I'm charging you accordingly because you wanted this, and then this also. So this other part of the service I gave him, he thought it was like all inclusive or whatnot, or inclusive with the price. And it had nothing to do with like him being like difficult. I could have just kept the whole 100 if I just want to be petty like that. But I'm beyond that, I was learning with being in the present moment and meditating and whatnot. I already knew this. I'm not better than nobody. Nobody's better than me either. I'm not above anybody, and nobody's above me. We're all on the same plane. I don't care if it's me and Travis Scott, or me and I don't know
Kevin Hart.
You know what I'm saying? If anything happens to us, we're gonna die. We're gonna transition anyway, no matter how much money or how known you are. So he wanted to make a fuss about it, whatever. He was like, oh, he must think you're a celebrity barber, this and this, like just give me insults. And all I know is like, dude, I'm not giving you no more change. Like, this is it. And he ends up leaving and whatnot. Not gonna lie, I was kind of like backtracking on like being in the present moment. Like, I was very disturbed by that situation. Like later that evening, like I think I left after that, because like it's been a long time since I actually like let someone get under my skin like that. I think I kept composure really well, because it could have happened a lot differently. However, it was just like, I feel like I was kind of pushing the being in the present moment thing too much, allowing someone to treat me a certain way. But that's how it happens in the service industry. And I just should have created thicker boundaries in that situation. But I also am proud of myself because I was able to handle it,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a tough thing with that situation. But meditating can definitely help you in so many ways with being patient. Even if I'm waiting on a Lyft or Uber or whatnot, I used to be like, damn, like, why did this person cancel on me? Or damn, like, why is there traffic? You gotta just let go and just flow with life. You just have to.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about meditation that it's hard, man, because the weird thing about meditation is that it's great. It greatly benefits your life, but you can't really explain it. It's something that you like internalize and feel for yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that you can just, because a lot of the growth is within your thoughts, and no one's seeing or hearing your thoughts. So it's kind of like, but those thoughts eventually lead to how you actually react to a lot of these things. I'm grateful for the story you shared. I'm gonna share a story with you real quick where meditation also came to me, and I felt like it helped me a lot. So one thing I don't think people know about me is that I'm a landlord, and I own some property in Philadelphia. And part of being a landlord is obviously collecting rent. And I'm not gonna lie, like I had to practice patience and meditation and just holding my composure, because one of my tenants wasn't paying me for at least 2 to 3 months. And so I'm waiting on rent for like 2 to 3 months. And I was doing, because I'm a nice guy, I'm doing everything, saying like, yo, nigga, where's my money, nigga? I want my money. And I that's what my thoughts were saying, like, nigga, where's my money? Going on that gangster shit. But that's not who I am. Those are just my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And essentially, I kind of know this is what I wanted. That's what I wanted to say. But what I actually did, because I was aware of my thoughts, was, yo, I know you don't have my money, and that's okay. but I trust that you're working hard enough to get me what I need, and I truly have faith that one day you will get me that money. And I felt because I delivered that message in that manner, instead of him looking at me and like being like, fuck this nigga, bro, like I'm not gonna give him money or giving him that energy, it actually made him, I feel, respect me more. Because I mean, you don't know this tenant, but this dude is 65 years old, so he's been paying rent for years. So for me to tell him like, yo, bro, you're late, I think he knew that, but honestly, I think he was going through a tough time, and apparently his girlfriend's father died. And so I didn't know this, they didn't know this, and it was a whole lack of communication. You know, this dude didn't text me for 2 to 3 months. So I'm like, bro, where's my money, bro? And in addition to not getting my money, he didn't text me. He hasn't been responding to my text. So I'm like, all right, bro, like it's one thing for you to not be paying me, but at least let's communicate,
Right.
you know? But, you know, it's something like that, you know? But I think, at least, I don't know, I felt like being patient and responding like that allowed him to kind of have a higher respect for me. And unfortunately, over time, bro, you know, we agreed on a payment plan. And, you know, he started paying on a weekly basis, and eventually he was able to get back the money. But I felt like, you know, if I reacted in a different manner where I could have been a lot more pressing and a lot more upfront and kind of aggressive, I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I felt like it would have just kind of caused a lot of turmoil. And I felt like the way I handled myself allowed him to kind of start to continue paying on a consistent basis. So, you know, it's very small. But I feel like those little things, they all add up, you know?
Yeah, it does definitely. Yeah, and I don't want the audience to confuse this with nihilism. You have to learn that nothing really fucking matters. Like, you really don't. Not as in, like, don't give a fuck, but, I mean, in a way, don't give a fuck. Like, if I cut somebody's hair and they say they don't like the cut, normally, because I'm my own worst critic, I think most artists are, just because they don't like your haircut don't mean you fucked up. If you didn't push the line back, you gave them your best, you gave the fade, you can control the rest.
Yeah.
Like, what I would tell the barbers, like, well, this is why I don't talk to barbers mostly, especially the older ones, that don't want to listen, because you can learn from everybody. Y'all are old or young. You can't control, like, who comes back to you. You can lace this person. Like, hell, you can, like, straight jack them up, but you have a good personality, good conversation. You can't control if they're going to come back or not. I have seen plenty of people that are way less qualified than those that are well qualified, and they get paid more. They have more notoriety. This is for any industry.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't think talent is enough. You got to work hard too and work smart. Like, it's too many variables in everything. So you can't look at somebody else and be like, yo, like this worked for them. Why are you working for me? You're a whole different person. You have a different calling. You have a different purpose. That person might be up on camera, but they probably down in private.
Yeah.
Like, we had a celebrity coming to the shop. I ain't gonna say the person's name, but she came to the shop. She got her sides done. I didn't cut her. It was somebody else. And I was seeing her and stuff, and I'm still coming my client and whatnot, you know, being normal. It's a person. I was thinking like, yo, she might got a lot of money. She might got a lot of followers, notoriety, whatever. Everywhere she goes, she's being stopped. But I can bet that she's not as happy as I am, because I can guarantee, like, she don't meditate. You can kind of know. It's kind of like being in a secret club when you meditate and you're able to be the present moment and stuff. I'm not saying I can't judge a book like based off her cover, like off its cover, but most people, especially Black people, we ain't meditating for real. Like, some of us, we not really doing it. A lot of us just talking about it, but the ones that's really doing it, we don't really have to talk about too much. Like when we met, like, it was like we were finishing each other's sentences.
Yeah.
It's new. Like, when it's real, like, real recognize real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like, it's just when it's natural synergy like that, then you both know. It's like a mentor-mentee relationship. You both know when it's right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be said. So, yeah, meditation definitely is a huge beneficial thing, guys. Like, y'all should definitely, like, tap in on doing it. I'm working on this thing called Kundalini meditation. I'm actually working to open my third eye or become enlightened. I've been enlightened before. The only thing is that I came back down to, I guess, your regular everyday consciousness. So I also watched this guy, Alan Watts. He says that there actually is no way of getting there. Like, you can't, because the thing is, you got this thing called the ego. The ego doesn't exist, which is like me pointing at y'all. That's your ego that feels it. That's the entity that you create over time, and that's not really you. So, but you have to do your own research and whatnot. But the best thing is just create the habit of meditating, and even just do 5 minutes a day. If 5 minutes is too long, do 1 minute a day. The whole point is just being consistent and doing it. Then you'll be able to meditate for a whole hour.
So. Yeah. Man, yo, shout out to Alan Watts, man. I know that dude. I've watched some of his videos on YouTube. Very, very interesting guy. Yeah, very interesting guy. You can get into a rabbit hole watching this stuff. But you know, one of the things that I really want to do for people who watch this podcast is I'm very big on having people learn practical and gain practical value. You know what I'm saying? And I personally believe that meditation is a very practical thing to do if it helps you, you know, grow as a person. So I just want to ask you, like, for people who are interested in learning how to meditate and get better at this, what are some things that they can do to improve meditating? The reason why I asked this is because, you know, I know one of the hardest things about meditation, and it's kind of, what's the word? Paradoxical, because a lot of people think that when they're meditating, there's a right way to do it. And it's kind of like the desire to want to be right actually just stops you from actually doing it. There's really no way. You just do it. You know what I'm saying? So I guess my question to you is like, what are some practical tips that you have for people who want to start meditating, but they kind of overcomplicate it and are lost in the process of doing it?
First of all, you need to have an intention of why you're meditating. Second, I'll just say what not to do, and then I think you can kind of figure it out from there. What you're not supposed to do is try to stop your thoughts or control your thoughts. If you do that, you're going to have a headache. The whole thing about meditation is designed for you to focus on the present. Whether you're closing your eyes and you're looking up, focusing in this area, or you're looking straight up, or you're just focusing on your breath, or you're focusing on outside noise, your fan going, the sound of the fan, like you are basically, you can do this eyes open or closed. There's no right or wrong way. One thing I definitely could say is that you definitely need to be sitting down. You don't have to be crisscross applesauce, but you do need to have your body erect, because that goes back to the whole Kundalini thing. Like, everything's coming from the bottom chakra, coming all the way up. So your body needs to be in alignment. If you're slouching, like, correct it.
What's Kundalini? Sorry.
Kundalini is basically like coiled. It's like a snake, like invisible, like energy. Like, it's basically energy in the form of a snake, and it's coiled up. And as you meditate over time, you're uncoiling it, and it's coming from bottom to top. Kind of like you look at the like the hospital logo or whatever, where it's like the snake and like the pole. Imagine it coiled at the bottom. As you meditate and get more conscious, and you're opening up your chakras one by one. It comes from coil to straight, and then everything releases up here, and then that's when you have opened your third eye or become enlightened or have a spiritual awakening. I forgot what was the rest of the question. What was the question?
Oh no, yeah, no. Essentially, the question is like practical tips you can provide for people who are trying to learn how to meditate.
So, quick recap: sit up straight, don't be slouching. Don't try to control your thoughts. Let them flow. Focus on your breath. Eyes can be open or closed. Focus on the awareness of your body. Any outside noise. Just do whatever you have to do pertaining to focusing on what's going on right now, right at that moment. You're going to have thoughts in the past. You're going to have thoughts in the future coming. It's okay. They're just clouds. Let them pass through. They're just a train on the train tracks. Let it go through. Don't try to control it. Don't try to attach to it. And don't even think about not thinking, because you're going to be thinking. Like, if I tell you don't think about an elephant, you just got an elephant in your head now. So no, don't try to do that, because that's still thinking. So you're just be at your natural state, close your eyes or keep them open, be as present as possible, just focus on whatever you're doing, your breath. I would say don't do it before you are going to sleep. You can still do it, but you might end up falling asleep, kind of tricking yourself or cheating yourself. Do it on a light stomach. You can eat, but you don't want anything too heavy. I would say do it maybe an hour before you go to sleep. You can do it in the morning. You really do it whenever. Just don't do it before you're about to go to sleep or when you're tired. And also, meditation is not just sitting down, doing the and all that either. You can do it while you're washing dishes. Just focus on the sound of the water running and just focus on that. You're washing the dishes. You got thoughts going bad, but you're still focusing on the sound of the dishes, of the water running. So I don't want to call that an advanced level of meditation really, but I think once you have figured out the concept of just staying present when you're meditating, then you find other activities that you do around the house, like when you're cleaning. That can be a form of meditation. You realize life itself can be meditation. even when you're driving, even when you're taking a walk. Uh, it could be anything like that. So it's, like I said, it's not really no right or wrongs, but it's some parameters and it's some type of framework you need to follow. But you can find your own way as long as you stay within that framework.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I think one of the things about meditation, I try to like keep it simple for people. Like, cause a lot of people, I feel like they're always wondering like, yo, how do I know if I'm doing this right or wrong? I feel like if you do it and afterwards you feel good, then I think that's a good sign that you're in the right direction. You know, at least for me, like I think I like to do meditation solely for the sake of it. You know, it makes me feel good, and it makes me want to continue doing it. So you know, that's that for everyone. But to each his own, and hopefully people learn more about it on their own and see how there's so much wisdom to be gained from meditating. Yo, one thing that I also had to ask, man, and I'm sure a lot of people ask you, man, but like, what's up with the face tattoo? You know, I'm just, you know, very curious about it. Is there a story to it, man?
Which one?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, that was the scorpion. Yeah.
All right, so scorpion. I'm a Scorpio, and then
Okay.
there's actually different parts of different animals for the scorpion, Scorpio zodiac. So there's the scorpion, and then you got the snake, and then you actually have the eagle or the phoenix. And the phoenix, to me, it resonates as the whole thing of a Scorpio is basically like developing yourself and transformation. Um, Scorpio is like the first level. The snake is like like the area where I'm in now. It's kind of like having more awareness of like, okay, now it's time to start shedding your shell or the skin. Now it's like I'm like in the middle, you know. And then where I'm going to be is the state of being the phoenix. Scorpio zodiac or not, like same as with the enlightenment thing. That's what the phoenix thing represents to me, is the enlightenment. That's when you like become, I don't say God, but like God-like or Christ-like, or like your Muhammad or your Buddha, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're just that enlightened being. So it's definitely a journey with that. I only get tattoos because they like have some type of meaning. Like get like Pikachu and Nike check signs and Gucci on me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also, I noticed that a lot of things I have been doing, they're actually very spiritual things, like that pertain to me too. I've met other very I don't want to say woke people. That's like too commercialish. I would say people that are actually enlightened that I haven't met. They told me like, yo, like, do you know what that snake means? And I was like, yeah, sort of. And I explained like how I explained it a second ago. It's like, yeah, but in Hindu traditions, Buddhism, like just traditions in general, the snake is actually a representation of like growing yourself or going through the good and the bad, or like just, you know, just growth in general, becoming your best version of yourself. And it's like, I had no idea. And so I've been in places where it could be other nationalities, from people like from the East. They won't like say anything to me, but they'll smile and then they'll point like at my head, and then they'd be like, so like, and then I had the snake rings. So like, I never understood. And then I get the snake jacket. So I didn't understand why did I have, I guess, this slight obsession with snakes and whatnot. And then some of those people, they would say like, yo, like, you're just a very spiritual being. Like, I could just feel your aura, your energy, like before you even speak. And it's like, and you get the snake and this and that. It was like, bro, like, you actually a very spiritual person. Like, you just don't really know it yet. So like, I don't know. It's very interesting that I found out on that. Even with the scorpion, like, I think the representation for that basically mostly is, you can be your own worst critic. And sometimes we fuck ourselves, bro. Like we put ourselves in certain situations because of the shit or the decisions we make. A lot of times, at least for me, I was in certain situations because I didn't want to take accountability. And I still didn't want to take accountability for not taking accountability. So, you know, it's just like, it was just double jeopardy. And the moment I started taking self-accountability, I started to learn that nothing really matters too much. Like, something that happens now, if it's not going to really affect me 10 years later, it don't really matter, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's just, you got to be accountable. You got to be responsible for yourself and your actions. Understand things aren't always going to go your way. Like, it's very simple things, but it's easier said than done. It's easy because I made it a habit. You keep doing something, it becomes you. It becomes part of your character. And it's kind of funny and interesting because you end up seeing other people and their issues, and now it's out of 10 blaming or pointing the finger and not worrying about what they're going to do to make it work for what happens to you. It's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess basically the tattoos, they basically mean like just stages of maturity.
Mm.
spiritual and here in the human world. Oh,
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on is because, I don't have any tattoos, so I can't really speak to this experience or I really understand it. But, you got the face tattoos, you got like the black nails, you got the black, like the black dressing. And I would imagine a lot of people are coming to you with preconceived judgments that,
yeah.
kind of shape the way they behave. I don't know. Like when I met you, I can immediately tell that you aren't what you appear to be or what people might think. I could tell you're completely different. But I'm sure other people probably come in to speak to you and treat you a certain type of way because of your face tattoos. Do you have any stories, or how do you deal with those preconceived judgments?
Well, I don't know if it's because I'm a barber and dealt with a lot of constructive criticism and deal with people all day, energy. I don't know. One day I used to care a lot what people thought a little bit, but like, it was just like, look, like, you didn't bring me into the world, so why should I care what you think? It's all about me being happy. Uh, I, every now and then I have people like look at me like weird, but it'll later turn into them like actually complimenting me. So they'll just like, yo, like that's fire. Most thing I get is like, did it hurt? And no, it didn't hurt. I have a high pain tolerance, so that kind of keeps it more intriguing. One thing, even before I got the face tattoo, like kids, like they would like babies and stuff, they would just stare at me. I don't know why. It was like an interesting thing. But even now with the tattoos, like they get excited. So I don't know, it's because like they confuse me with somebody that's famous or whatnot. I do get that a lot, even before the tattoo. Someone be like, yo, like, you famous or something? And I'm just like, like it's just I guess an aura or whatever. But I think just because the art actually is done good, I don't really like look at it like in a negative light. Even older, I mean, not really, really people like 70s, they'll compliment me like, oh, that's a really nice tattoo. It looks really good on you. So it's like, every now and then I have those thoughts coming through my head, like, oh, this person might judge me on this and that. Like sometimes I do get a little conscious, or I had the thought of being a little conscious about it. I've had some women like tell me like, hey, like I like your tattoo, like it's nice, and I like, thank you. In a weird way, like what comes with it though, it kind of gets annoying because I really don't like attention like that, which is kind of weird because I have a certain look that does draw attention. It's not that I dislike people. It's like sometimes it's just like you don't want to sit and explain the whole story all the time, or just saying thank you all day. Like it's okay. Like I appreciate people like liking my art, whatnot. But then it's just like, okay, what else? Because it's not really about me. It's like someone complimenting me on my garment. They're complimenting my garment. They're not complimenting me. Like it's okay, it's cool, but it's just like that's another thing with being meditating. I think with me meditating, for some reason, it took me to different levels of spirituality, and I'm learning more and more that from my own personal experience, like I'm just consciousness running this body. Like I'm not gonna be here forever. Like the body's not gonna be here forever, but I'm gonna be here forever in a certain sense. But you gotta meditate for a while to understand what that means. But I just got more and more detached from just like things like that, like compliments and all that. Like I love compliments, but I'm not attached to them. I appreciate them, but it's just like it's cool. Same thing if I get hate, like I appreciate it, and then I just let it go. So that helped me learn basically the art of detachment, which you also learn in with meditating. But as far as like the tattoos and whatnot, and the look, the black nails, I've gotten, especially being in Atlanta, I've got people like wonder like, oh, is he gay? Is he part of the LGBT community? And for the record, no. The thing is just that I just have my own style. I love black. I didn't understand. It's the same thing with being introverted. I didn't understand that it could make people feel inferior, and I understood that it's not my job to make you not feel inferior or not intimidated. Either you're going to be that or not. Because since I meditate and I know it's not real and weak, and most people aren't really that bold enough nowadays to really come up to you, at least those that's not in a group, they're not that bold to come up to you and just say like, yo, like, you look like shit. You know what I'm saying? Like people really not that bold now, for real. Unless they're intoxicated. So,
No, I hear you, man, and you said a lot of things, a lot to unpack there. Definitely highly cerebral and intuitive. Yeah, I mean, one thing goes that I really wanted to hear, like, hear your critiques, because you clearly know a lot about yourself and spirituality and meditating, and one thing I feel like these type of topics, they can kind of get like a bad sense depending on who you're speaking to. Some people have a weird perception of it. You know what I'm saying? When people might be like, "Yo, this dude is delusional. He's fucking talking about some third eye. Then what the fuck is a third eye?" Like, there's some people who are, I'm sure, highly skeptical of this type of conversation.
Of course.
What would you say to people like that, and to help them feel a bit more open-minded to this? Because there's some people who I can definitely see them listening to this and being like, "Oh man, this guy's so egotistical, or he thinks he's so into himself." Like, like it can intimidate other people. What would your response be to people like that?
So what I would tell them is to kill because when people hear third eye, they think of like woo-woo stuff or like dark magic or whatever. Guys, this is not no magic and stuff. If anything, as magical is life itself. Whether you believe in like, for positive sake, let's say like God created everything and everything in it. You can't tell me there's nothing magical about that, the way things are designed. Like, when you are asleep, you're not controlling your heart, like pumping and all that stuff. It's running on its own. Like, you don't have to tell yourself to breathe. You just breathe. That's magical to me. But anyhow, oh yeah, the third eye.
Yeah.
So to take the third eye thing out, look up pineal gland. This is a real gland that's in your brain. It's like literally right here, like starts here, and if you were to go through here, it's like somewhere in the middle of your brain. I don't know the anatomies of the brain, all that offhand, but it's like that small. It's a real gland that has been decalcified based upon the food, the fluoride in our water, your toothpaste. All my toothpaste has no fluoride in it. I eat blueberries, I eat pineapple. So like, there's things out there to eat and consume and to not consume that will help you decalcify your pineal gland. It also depends on like, some people are able to activate it faster than others naturally. But this is not no woo-woo. This is a real thing that you can verify yourself, and you can figure out how to open it yourself. It's not for everybody, though. Spiritual awakening is not for everybody. Some people have ended up in crazy houses or insane asylums and stuff, because some people that have not heard of anything like this, when they do have spiritual awakenings, they don't know what's going on. So it's like they're going to be seen as being psychotic or being gone mad or lost their mind. But for those that just are super religious and whatnot, this stuff is actually within your religion as well. Becoming Christ-like and all that, like Muhammad and all those guys, all the religions, they're pointing to the same thing. They're telling you to basically open your pineal gland, realizing the God in you. And you can't do that until you open your third eye or activate your pineal gland. That's what they're all basically pointing to. This in no way makes us feel superior to anybody. I believe knowledge is power, but also with great power comes great responsibility. So we're both making a very bold move, speaking on topics like this, especially with other people that look like us, looking at us coming from a perspective of being in a Christian household or Muslim household or whatever your faith is. We're talk down on anybody's faith. It's really encouraging you, like, continue on your journey. Meditation is nothing but another form of prayer. Like, it's only you're just not really like thinking like, oh God, please, you're not doing that. It's all the same, same respect. So yeah, so it's nothing to be afraid of. It's no devil work, nothing like that. But you can verify the pineal gland. Do your homework.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I used to, I'm a pretty avid reader, and as you were speaking, what popped up into my head was, I think there's a book called Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. Don't know if you ever heard of it, but in that book, they pretty much, one of the things is, because, I've I got into my deep dive on a lot of these spiritual topics because I was very curious. And I think that book and this man named Joe Dispenza, he does a good job of demystifying the woo-hoo-hoo and the third eyes and the pineal gland. And he actually puts science behind it. So for people who kind of want to kind of learn about it from a more practical standpoint or perspective, I definitely recommend that book. And it goes, before we end, this was definitely a very great, enlightening conversation. I wanted to ask you, do you have any kind of piece of advice or wisdom that you would like the people who listen in to know or feel like you would like to share?
You don't want to go into meditation and this journey, however far you want to take this journey. Don't do it with a sense of lack, feeling like you're trying to, how can I put it? I'll just put it to you like this. You don't want to do it with a sense of feeling like you're worthless and you're trying to become something worthy. You're already worthy. All you're doing is trying to eliminate all the clutter. You're trying to eliminate the attachment to the clutter that comes through your mind. Like, we're basically like in an invisible cesspool of thoughts. That's why, like, they say great minds think alike, because there's certain people that's in certain cesspools of thoughts. Mind frame, same as like being on a certain vibration. You're not going to be able to talk to somebody at a lower vibration. You're not going to look down on them, but you just can't talk to them on a certain level. It's like arguing with a fool. You can't argue with a fool. The fool already think he's great. So what are you going to do? You're going to stoop up with you're two fools. So you can I know it sounds cliche, but you can really become anything that you want. 3 years ago, I wrote down on a notepad, on a postcard, saying, I am a barber in a celebrity barbershop. I am a barber in Buckhead. I am making X amount of dollars a week. I wrote everything in present tense. If you write your goals down in past or future tense, you're not going to get it. You have to write it as if you already have it, because you're tricking and telling your subconscious mind that you are in alignment with it and you understand it fully. You can't get something in the past or the future because it doesn't exist. You have to say it and write it down as if you have it right now, so that you can make it real for yourself, not just in here, but out here. One thing I do too is to make it even more effective for this thing to get logged into your subconscious mind is record yourself saying these affirmations or goals or whatnot, and copy and paste, make it into a loop. Put on your MP3, your iPod, whatever you use, play it in your earbuds, or play it out loud while you're sleeping. Now you're programming your subconscious mind. And I think it's more effective when it's your voice saying it versus listening to someone else's voice doing it. Because I don't know why, but for some reason, when you talk to yourself in your thoughts or out in person, when you're by yourself or whatnot, the subconscious mind just reacts better to it because it knows it's you, It can work with someone else's voice, but I don't know why you would want someone else's voice. But to wrap it up, pretty much, you can do anything you want. Everything is about working on your shadow work also. Finding those parts of you and yourself that you've been suppressing from your childhood. You want to get free of that. You want to work on your inner child. You want to work on the things that you were not given, or that just been bruising you and you don't know. Like, as you got older, you started to put things to the side and you can't see it consciously, but it's somewhere lodged in your subconscious mind. So you got to do some deep shadow work. That's not woo-woo either. You can look that up. Really, it's just like, just find those things that you put under the ground and just dig it up so that you can actually heal. And if you are happening to be on a spiritual journey, understand you're going to lose people. Everybody's not meant to be on this journey. Everybody's not meant to be on this path. And even if you're not made that so spiritual, if you just want to meditate and just better yourself, you're going to lose people like that anyway. In a way, I don't even want to say you're losing people. They just weren't supposed to be there at the beginning. You don't lose people or gain people. It's just, everything's an experience. Everybody's a star in their own movie, and we're just on a movie set. So that's just the best way you can look at it. Don't take nothing personal. I think a good book to read would also be, I think it's The 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. So just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't make it complicated, and be okay with being on your path alone. It's okay. Like, you'll come out good, and then you'll have something to you have a story to tell in case you run into somebody else that wants to go down the same path.
Great, man. Thanks for sharing those words. before we end this podcast, do you have any socials or any services that you would like to promote? I know you have your barbershop in Buckhead that you're working on building. Do you want to share your socials on that and anything else that you want to share?
Uh, so my Instagram is I am King Ghost. It's on Instagram. That's pretty much all. That's my only social media that I'm really operating right now. The barbershop I'm in is called Headmasters Barbershop. It's down the street from Lenox Mall. If any of y'all listen to Atlanta music, when they talk about shopping at Phipps, shopping at Lenox, whatever, I'm right down the street from there, next to Icebox. Yep, the same place Lil Baby get his jewelry from. So yeah. So,
No.
but if you guys want to, if you don't do social media, you can Google King Ghost the Barber. In parentheses, it is going to say inside Headmasters Barbershop, but King Ghost the Barber, Atlanta. First thing will pop up probably my Booksy page. But if you scroll down some more, you'll see a picture of me and you can see my cuts and all that. And you can call that number on there, make an appointment, make it happen.
Great, man. I'm glad to hear from you, man. And I really enjoyed our conversation. And I really appreciated all the wisdom that you shared. And thank you for just simply sharing your story, man. I think one of the things I'm trying to do on this podcast is have people just authentically be themselves and just share what's important to them. Because I feel like no matter what aspect, no matter where you are in life, I think everybody can learn from somebody. And I think you had a lot of wisdom to share. And I'm really grateful for all the stories you share. And before I end this podcast, I want to end it with a quote from Joey Badass, a great rapper. And the quote is, we may not have everything that we want, but we have everything that we need to get what it is that we want. So, all right, guys. Thank you, man. And thanks, Ghost. Yo, we'll talk, Ross.
All right, brother. See y'all.
Sorry.